Good evening. Here we are live. I'm going to do this talk about being booze-free for a year and why I did it, what's become of it. I've had really profound changes in my life, and feel free to share this on your own page as it's happening if there are people that you'd like to see it. It'll ultimately all be recorded and get captioned to be on the page. So, you can share it with any friends you want to, or go back and watch anything you missed. So throughout this, I'm going to try to keep this to about a half hour, but definitely please pop in with any questions, or if you have your own stories to tell, hop in and do that stuff in the comments. I'll be able to see it. And throughout this, I'm going to hold up some signs like this, hello, so that if you come back and you have to jet tonight to watch something, then you can come back and sort of know where you stop. So these are sort of going to be our chapters, our placeholders. Or, if there's a section and there's a friend or family member that you really want to watch a section, you can just be like, go look for the hello section. And then when they're scrolling through later when this is saved, it'll be easily identifiable. So first of all, the reason that I wanted to do this, why I wanted to talk about it at all, is I've had giant changes in my life. And when I first stopped drinking about a year ago, I tried to search up information about it, and it wasn't there. So, I came across a couple of blogs and a couple of, little tiny articles through, I don't have a 1 million person following, so it was similar, just these small groups. And the reason I'm sure that is because there's so much money in alcohol, all our media, advertising, events, venues, restaurants, so many businesses rely on alcohol sales to make money, and lots of money. So I can understand why this isn't really readily available information outside of alcoholism, which is another really big business, right? So this is what happened for me in the last year since I gave up alcohol. I started a company, I released a record, I dropped 4 pant sizes, I don't have extreme emotions anymore, meaning I'm calmer, I'm more content, I feel happier, and I sort of feel like I've slowed down some aging things that were starting to hit me pretty hard. So let me just go to the origins. The reason this even started, I was a regular cocktail person for my entire adult life. That was probably something that my friends will say was part of my personality and who I was. I was always ready to go and get a cocktail. And not to excess, but it was just part of my adult life. Sort of as soon as I could do it and got into it, I just always wanted to include that in my activities. So this dude Josh in my yoga studio, I was at a social event with him once, and he didn't have alcohol. And I noticed, but I didn't want to ask a question in case it was something personal. But then we became friends, and so I said, "What's the deal with you not drinking?" And he just said, he's probably in his early 30s. He just said, I was just sick of it. I was sick of the environment. I was sick of the feelings that it gave me and how it made me feel physically, so I just stopped. And I was like, all right. And he was like, you should stop. And I was like, oh yeah, haha. So he said, why not? Try it for 30 days. And I was like, no way, not doing it. And it just sort of stuck with me. So I sort of petered out a little bit. I drank a little bit less at first. And then when I did have a drink again, because I had that in my mind, I really noticed a big change. So it sort of stuck, and then I got into it. So when I first started, I didn't know if it would be a thing, if I would keep doing it, so I just kept this to myself. For the first month or two, I didn't even mention it. And it became sort of a fun personal challenge to even see if people noticed. So what I did for myself is I decided not to drink out of boredom, habit, or loneliness, which pretty much meant that there was no reason to drink. And later I added in anger and frustration. So that was sort of always a go-to, and it is for a lot of people. When you've had a shitty day or whatever, you want to just booze it out. So I stopped for those things, and then I found that I didn't really have much of a reason to drink. So the things that started changing, one of the big things initially, and this will be our chapter number 1 here, sleep. Sleep was an immediate difference. So I used to get up frequently in the night, not many times during one night, but I would, have to get up and go to the bathroom during the night. And I don't have to do that anymore. So I don't know if that was because I had more liquid in me or something with the alcohol, but that ended. I started waking up so awake. Man, for the first 6 months, I just would pop out of bed and be alive and feel amazing. That's pretty much settled into more of a regular rhythm now, where I wake up and I'm not bouncing out, but I had a good 6 months where I felt so different, so much better, that I just popped out of bed. I just had way more energy than I'd had in ages, both physically and mentally. And then later, I noticed that I had stopped sweating at night, which I thought I just slept hot. And pretty much my whole life, I would wake up in a sweat, either warm or sometimes totally drenched and totally gone. That was alcohol. Then I realized, oh my God, that was my body cleansing itself. And for 20 years, my body couldn't sleep fully because it was using its energy to cleanse out alcohol. Even if I didn't drink that particular day, it takes a while to flush it out of your system. So night sweats, totally gone. Sleep is just so much better. I sleep more soundly and I don't have to wake up to go to the bathroom, and I don't sweat. So that was a big difference. Another major factor, chapter number 2, is time. You get it back. When drinking starts, production just stops. Whether it's brunch, after work, if it's at lunch, whatever it is, when drinking starts, production stops. So instead, it became this thing of, what can I do with this life? What can I create, right? I mean, the camera's on, this is it, this is your shot, this is what's happening, what are you gonna do with it? Do you really wanna kind of numb down and just sit around doing nothing and not thinking for hours a day, or, many times during a week? It also made, you just have that free time to do more productive things. So another thing is big money savings, and you can apply that to your free time in ways that you wouldn't have before. Your dining bills are going to be cut in half, and I definitely supplement with some kombucha, which are like $3.50 or $4 a piece. Some of my money goes there, but go get a foot massage instead or whatever. So get back way more money and way more time. And let's see, the next topic that I'm going to discuss is your general health. Now, we all know that drinking is not good for us. You can see all the articles and read about wine being fine for you and the monks drinking and all of that, but it's poison. We know that. We know it's poison because it affects and alters all parts of our body, physically and mentally. That's fine. I'm not saying, there's certain poisons that can help us. But when people talk about it being good for you, it's going to be in minute amounts, and probably that's a joke anyway. So obviously getting sleep makes you much healthier. More energy, and all that time you exercise more, so that's sort of just a ripple effect. And I just have a super clear mind. I'm so focused. It feels really powerful. You feel really in control. And the other thing is that I've been less hungry. So I don't know enough about this that if it would be that it's something to do with the sugars, or your body is asking for more nutrients to help cleanse it when you're drinking alcohol regularly. But just in general, I'm less hungry. I get fuller faster. So all of that equals more health. And I have seriously dropped 4 pant sizes, maybe more. I was wearing like 31, 32 waist, and I just kept buying smaller and smaller jeans. And now I've sort of settled it into 28 waist, which I haven't been in a while. And it's nice, but it's all that, you just want to eat healthier, eat smaller portions, just naturally, not by trying, obviously not getting the sugars from the alcohol, and then using that time and more productively to like exercise and stuff. So I just, the whole body feels a lot better, and that clarity of mind is really, really incredible. I had never totally dried out in my adult life, so I didn't know what that felt like. And I sort of think to myself, like, dang, I did some really neat things in my life. I worked in Hollywood, I lived in New York and LA, and what if I had been more sober during that time? What a different life that would have been, to be really clear and productive. And I was really busy all the time and did a lot of things, but man, it would have been very different if I hadn't been drinking and smoking weed all the time. So, okay, the next thing, now that we're aging in our life a little bit, some of us, so I'm 41 and a half, and, they say around 40, and it's true for me that things just start changing, gravity starts taking hold, things start dropping down, you get the creaks if you're in a position for too long, that you stand up and you're kind of like, So the big thing, once I started feeling all these positive effects from not having the alcohol in my body, is I just had this big light bulb go off. Like, why am I putting something willingly in my body that is making it degrade and struggle to be healthy when have this natural degradation, you know, like gravity and time is doing that on its own. I don't need to be adding to that. So that was a big revelation to me. Then the other thing that happened, aging-wise or visual aging-wise, is that within the first like 4 to 6 weeks, I noticed that the spots on my face were lightening up. So I'm very fair. I have lots of freckles, starting to get, you know, little age spots and stuff like that. And really early on in cutting out alcohol, the spots just lightened up. I mean, it was very apparent to me, just, you know, even though I see myself every day, I was like, whoa. And then I realized, oh my God, my liver is able to do its job. It's not spending its time cleaning out the chemical, you know, poisonous stuff that I'm putting into it. It's just able to go and cleanse organs, and your skin is your biggest organ. So it was able to flush out all those toxins and stuff, and the spots just lightened up. Oh, and also, any of you guys that are here, if you can, I think that if you type a question or say hello or something, I'll be able to see that, and I can respond to you if you have any questions or want to say like, oh yeah, I stopped drinking for 2 months and that happened to me. Whenever I have posted about this stuff on either Real Fine Food or my personal outlets, I always get lots of private messages, people that say, oh yeah, I stopped one summer and my life changed, or I have this friend, this woman that is in New York in the music business, and she was writing me about, you know, this is something that I'm so interested in, but I feel like it's part of my business to drink. And I think we all feel a lot of that pressure. I'm going to go on to that socializing aspect of it in a minute. But I want to bounce from the aging to the next topic, which is happiness. So with this clarity and mentally sort of being aware all the time, I feel a lot more empathy. I really listen more. I'm more present in the moment. I'm paying attention and being wherever I am, and, you know, more patient. I'm calmer. And all of that just aids to the happiness. So a lot of us say that we want to drink to be more comfortable in social situations, or, you know, as Josh, my yoga buddy that started all this, to make the sex less awkward, you know, if you're picking somebody up or whatever. There's just something to really dealing with life as it is. And, you know, I don't feel very much stress like I did before. And I feel actually more comfortable in social situations because you're just clear and you can just be for real. You know, you don't have to put on an act or a show. So that's been a big boon to me too. And all of these things have been a major change in my overall persona and just existence for the last, you know, going on a year now. So, and, you know, listen, I might start drinking again tomorrow. I'm not, this whole time, if I've been tasting people's drinks just to make sure, like, do I want this? And usually I don't. Well, always I don't, because I haven't started drinking again. But if I want to, I will drink again. I'm not an alcoholic and I don't have an issue. Just so far, you know, I'd rather not feel sick and I'd rather be on my game. So a big question, you know, talking about like being healthier and having more time and having more money and anti-aging and being happier is, I've been thinking a lot about this year with sober eyes watching the world, is like, why do we want to numb ourselves so much? How did this come about? There's a funny thing that Josh threw out. We were talking about this last night, and he said, there's a Homer Simpson, and I Googled it and found it today, but where Homer raises a beer in front of a big crowd, and he says, to alcohol, the cause and solution to all of life's problems. And I love that. Oh, hey, Kirby, nice to see you. Yeah, you guys type in there so I can see who's here. That's cool. Yeah, anyway, so the cause and solution to all of life's problems. So where did this start? And why do we not want to be at 100% of our being? You know, like, why do we want to dumb down and not be as focused? So it's so culturally encouraged, and something I've noticed in the past year, a couple of years before I started my company even, is I've been reading lots of autobiographies and people who are successful, their books about, you know, how they got to where they are, that kind of thing. And I've noticed that people at the very top, like, a lot of them don't drink or don't drink much because they want to be on their game all the time. And I was like, I want to be on my game all the time. You know, just like make stuff happen and be real clear about everything. So I started noticing, like, okay, what is this? You go, you know, drinking is just everywhere. Like I said at the beginning, everything runs on it. It's so much money, and then when people become alcoholics, there's so much more money in that, helping them and, you know, trying to get them to overcome it. So huge business. And I was like, gosh, okay, you just start noticing things and just seeing like every single event revolves around alcohol. And it's just so encouraged. Like people are posting on social media about being drunk and posting drunken things, and it's just kind of applauded, right? So why is this? How did we get here? And I noticed in It's a Wonderful Life, which my family and I went to see at the Majestic Theater downtown at Christmas time, when the angel is taking George Bailey back to town, and oh, hey Lydia, good to see you. When he's taking George Bailey back through the town and it's turned into Pottersville, right? The way that they show that the town has gone to hell is the entire main street is bars, saloons, and like, little girly dance clubs or whatever. And everyone's walking around drunk. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is a sign of how, the town has gone down. And not only that, but Potter owns everything. He pays people in the businesses. Then they go into his clubs and bars and give him all the money back for the booze. And then I was like, oh man, when you read books like The Jungle, Upton Sinclair, anything during the Industrial Revolution, when people worked in factories and mines and things, there was like the boss, the company that owned that, they owned the housing people lived in, and then they also, owned the entertainment establishment. So I was like, man, was this kind of a constructed social thing way back where, in America at least, where, to keep the money flowing, it's like the crappy work, and then you give them the money, and then they kind of, especially for the men, they go get drunk, give you back the money, and then you lock them in and they're addicted, and then they just kind of keep giving you all that money back for life and probably owe you money and get into servitude. So, I just start thinking about all that sort of stuff when I'm looking at how this world runs with these sober eyes and in all events. So I'm going to talk about socializing. Here's the next little topic, which is the issue that a lot of people ask me about. So when I get private messages, I'm going to go back to that story of the woman in New York who wrote me, and we had a long back and forth about it. When I get questions, when the people say like, oh yes, I quit for a month or I quit for 3 months, and I'm like, why did you go back? It's almost always because of social pressure, that's what people do, right? We get drunk together. And the woman that was writing me in New York, she works in music, and she was like, it's literally part of the job description sometimes to go out and get wasted with bands or managers or whatever. And she felt like she would miss out on that. And what I told her is, over the last year, my social circle and definitely my social activities have changed. Instead of taking dinner or drink meetings, I'll do lunches or coffees or teas or some sort of activity. And the social circle does change. So there's going to be people that are going to drop out of your life. But for me, what happened is my circle changed to people who are productive, achieving, not depressed or sad, which is what a lot of people who are, big heavy drinkers, like you're doing that to avoid whatever, or to numb yourself, or to self-medicate because you don't feel good. What are you saying, Albert? They get bored with the mundane? Give me a chance to have a little sip. But yeah, anyway, so, the circle changes to people who are also a little bit more go-getter, and you'll just clear out some of that riffraff of people who, everyone has to make their own decisions of when they come to that, but you're hanging with a different crowd then. So if, to me, again, with a sober mind and body and eyeballs now, is if something isn't fun or interesting without me having to dull or alter my senses, like, why am I doing it? Why am I at that place? Why am I taking part in that activity? I should go and do something that is just, a much better use of my time. Again, the camera's on, you're on, like, this is it, what are you going to do with your life? And, to me, I just feel like I wasted a lot of time not, being drunk and stoned. But everybody's different, and you're young, and then you get older, and maybe this is just something that a lot of people come to with age. So, and why is it so common? Money, honey, the answer, of course, to everything, which we've already gone over a couple of times in this. So let's talk about some alternatives. What I do is, especially those couple of months when I was out and wasn't telling people that I wasn't drinking, what I would do is just get a club soda with like a splash of grapefruit or cranberry at a bar. Or sometimes, like if I'm at a cocktail bar, they might have a really neat concoction that sounds delicious, and I'll say, use club soda in this instead of gin, and just get my custom cocktail. And being a lady, usually they just kind of give it to you for free anyway, but so you're saving money there, or they'll charge you $5 or something. But that's what I do when I'm out. If a place has kombucha or Topo Chico, totally go for that. I'm actually surprised more places don't do that, because I feel like they could still get a markup. You know, at a nice cocktail bar, you could charge $3 or $4 for a Topo Chico, still get that. People could have something to drink, even if they're drinking in between drinks. There's, you know, all these cool drinks now. And you know, if you go to Whole Foods or Sprouts or something, just the wall of kombucha and alternative fizzy things that, you know, people could drink at these establishments. And it's weird to me now, not drinking, that I could go anywhere and it's like, no, I have tap water or alcohol. It's weird. Yes, Lydia, totally. Sometimes when I get a mocktail, I'll just tell the bartender, make me a non-alcoholic drink, maybe something with ginger and basil or some herbs, something herby, and they'll mix something up, and then it ends up being the tastiest thing on the table. And, you know, again, I keep tasting things. So I've been in situations where a friend and I will get the same cocktail, and mine is just the mocktail version. And I taste both, because if I want the cocktail, I'm going to drink it. Again, I'm not under contract to not drink. So I taste it, but it always tastes, I always like the other one better. And even if I do get a little bit of a pull, what happens now if I even take a sip of alcohol is my tongue expands and I feel it go to my head right away. So even just a couple of sips, I can start feeling that junk getting in my blood. And then I remember what it feels like to wake up the next day and not have energy, to be cloudy headed, to not have slept well, and not to be on my game that next day. And I just don't want it. This might change at any time. We'll see. So alternatives are kombucha, Topo Chico, mocktails, club soda with a splash of juice, LaCroix, of course, everyone's favorite, or coffee and tea. So you just start drinking other things and just not wanting it. That's what's happened for me anyway. So as I go through this, it's mostly non-potable to me now. I keep tasting it. If I get in the mood, I'll have it. But I still try to obey those rules for myself of, if I'm only drinking out of boredom, loneliness, habit, or anger, frustration, I'm going to try to stop myself. And I'm going to try instead to go to yoga or meditate or go see some friends or watch something funny or play music or whatever it is that I can get a release, right? I just don't want to feel sick. I want to feel good and productive and all that. So the last thing I'm going to cover is, like, what is being sober? I mean, we know, right? Not drinking, but I'm going to actually go to the literal definition from the dictionary and then tell you what it's meant for me. So the dictionary tells us that sober is not intoxicated or drunk, habitually temperate, quiet or sedate in demeanor, marked by serious gravity, solemnity, subdued in tone, not colorful or showy, free from excess, extravagance, or exaggeration, and showing self-control. That's the kind of person I want to be personally. For me, it's like astute, in control, aware, informed, in charge. In a drunk world, you sober is like, I'm the captain now. Right? It's almost an advantage because everybody drinks and it takes a while. I mean, it took that 30 days for me to totally dry out. So, it's just kind of really being there. And when I go out now, I can be in those environments with drinking people, but, it's funny watching people, because when people start listing and they start slurring their words, and of course everyone gets very loud, everyone stops listening, people are just, eyes get half-masked and that sort of thing, and it's strange to watch now, especially with something like alcohol where it progresses over the time that people are drinking. I don't want to say sad, because it's not sad, it's very interesting to watch. And it's just a strange thing that we do, to like drug ourselves like that, to where our body and mind is altering so much. So what I do at an event is, once people start listing and shouting and aren't being cohesive anymore, like, that's when I check out. Before that, everyone's kind of normal and fine, but people get more self-conscious, you know what it is, what it's like to be drunk, probably everyone here. So with anything, I think it's just a practice. If it's something that you want to try out, I recommend that 30-day start where you just kind of dry out. It just becomes a personal challenge. And, at the very least, being healthier, losing weight, having better skin, I didn't really, like, as far as zits and pimples go, a lot of people will say when they drop alcohol that changes. That didn't really change for me, but the spots on my face lightening up were a big deal. And, you know, obviously getting thinner and feeling in shape and strong is a much better way to feel. I'm just, you know, again, I just started a company, released a record, and just have a zillion things on my plate all the time, which I can totally handle because I've got full capacity and there's no cobwebs. So we'll see how long this lasts. I'm going to close it up now. Hopefully this has only been about a half hour. I thank all you guys for piping in. If anyone else wants to say hi there, I see there's, you know, a few of you little eyeballs on my Facebook Live dot. If there's anybody else that I know or don't know, say hi. And if there's someone that you want to watch this, by tomorrow it'll be up, or I might go after this and just get the captions generated. And, you know, if there's a certain section that you want to go back to and think about more, those little cards that I was holding up will help you guide. So if you're fast forwarding on the Facebook timeline, then you can, you know, just try to get to that section. And feel free to send me a personal message. I know this is sort of almost a taboo subject. Hey, Melissa. Sort of a taboo subject that, you know, again, it just isn't talked about, and it's almost an aberration to not drink by choice. You know, people who are alcoholics deal with it all the time, and they talk about it, and there's plenty of literature and movies and TV about that, but there's hardly any about just being like, I just chose not to drink, and I'm, you know, what does that feel like? So if you want to send me a private message or leave a comments on this afterwards, go ahead and do that. And I also wanted to pimp my company, which is Lovage Inc., and that is all about wellness too. So I post a lot of things over there about being more confident, healthy, happy, which is all derived from This All Connects. Real Fine Food and Lovage and Stephanie the Person and Pool Lights the Band, they all converge on this subject of feeling good, promoting positivity, and being healthy. So yeah, thanks guys for piping in and hanging out, and have a great night, and until next time, see you later, bye.